has a major exploration afoot.
Terrible disease, murderous savages. The journey may well mean your life.
Don't go. He'll not know you when you return.
I know this is a sacrifice for all of us, but it will be worth it.
A man's reach should exceed his grasp.
I am proposing that Amazonia contain a hidden civilization. If we may find a city where one was considered impossible to exist, it may well write a whole new chapter in human history.
Are you insisting that these savages, they are equals?
Their civilization may well predate our own. I call it Zed, the ultimate piece of the human puzzle.
Hello, welcome to this What Do You Want to Watch Spoilercast for James Gray's biographical drama, The Lost City of Zed. I'm Ashley Hobley, joining me today, Dylan Blight.
Happy to be here and talk about this unwatched, unappreciated movie.
That's, probably a fair way to say it. So we're talking about this James Gray film in the lead up to the release of Armageddon Time, his latest film. So let's just jump straight into it. Please be aware we'll be freely discussing anything and everything about the plot themes at any of the movie. So if you haven't watched it, come back later. With that said, let's jump to discussion of The Lost City of Zed, directed by James Gray, screenplay by James Gray, based on The Lost City of Zed by David Grann, starring Charlie Hunnam, Robert Pattinson, Sienna Miller, Tom Holland, Angus Macfadyen, Ian McDiarmid, and Franco Nero. At the dawn of the 20th century, British explorer Percy Fawcett journeys into the Amazon, where he discovers evidence of a previously unknown advanced civilization that may have once inhabited the region. Despite being ridiculed by the scientific establishment, which views indigenous populations as savages, the determined Fawcett, supported by his devoted wife, son, and aide-de-camp, returns to his beloved jungle in an attempt to prove his case. Dylan, what do you think of The Lost City of Zed?
I think it's very good. I watched it for the first time a couple of years ago, I think. I don't remember. I didn't watch it when I was in cinemas. I don't think it came to my cinemas. So
nobody did, from what I don't know.
Yeah. So it didn't do well in the cinemas, and I really wish I could have seen it on cinema, because I think this is a beautifully shot, put together movie. I think the easiest way to describe this movie is it feels like a movie. It feels like the type of movie they stopped making around the 2000s. Like, I don't know, like it just feels like sort of not in any particular way. I don't know. It's just all the factors that come together. It just feels like old school movie making. I don't know. Like, it's just the subject matter and everything else is just like feels like something you'd see in the 80s and 90s sort of thing. But yeah, I think it's a very, very good movie. I think the only problem with this, and the reason I don't think it did well, is because of Charlie Hunnam. And that's nothing against him. I feel like because of the subject matter and all that sort of stuff, that it's not the type of the movie on itself wasn't going to draw in audiences. It just needed. I feel like it just needed a star. It needed a star to get people to come watch it. I feel like was the major problem. If I was to point one out, like I think he's good in the movie. I have no problem with him as the role, but I feel like if it had been like fucking Leonardo DiCaprio,
well, Brad Pitt was meant to star originally,
or Brad Pitt. There you go. Yeah. Then yeah.
So yeah, I think like from a financial point of view, yeah, I'm sure they would have loved to have Brad Pitt star in the movie, but I think Charlie Hunnam does a great job. I'm sure they thought that obviously this is around the time of Sons of Anarchy being a reasonably big success, kind of making that transition. I don't know, was this before or after Pacific Rim?
This is after Pacific Rim.
Yeah, so maybe if Pacific Rim had been a bigger hit. I enjoyed it. I mean, it is kind of, it definitely feels like a movie from many years ago. Very, like you said, like but the thing that I was like thinking as the movie was going on was like, wow, they're doing a lot in this movie that I believed was a reasonably smaller shoot. Like, it takes place over a grand part of history, has a bunch of different sets and locations. They have a whole World War I section. It's like, this is pretty crazy, the scale of this. I think, it's an interesting story, but if I kind of feel like I was reading the some of the Trakt comments just to get an idea of how some people felt about it, and top comment is a biopic about a man called Percy who accomplished nothing of mention apart from abandoning his wife at every opportunity. Which, you know, it's accurate.
I feel like that's a very that's a very dumb way to look at the movie. What they give it? They're giving it like 1 out of 10.
They give it like a 4.
Yeah, it's a movie about. I mean, I don't think its themes are grand. It's literally about a dude. Like, it's about obsession. Like, that's as far as like the movie sort of. It's about family and a family honor obsession. Like, I feel like its themes are pretty straightforward. Like, it's a man who becomes obsessed with this whole finding his
the city of Zed, which is a lost South American civilization. Yeah, I could definitely. Yeah, it definitely is a case of that. Like, he gets kind of a taste of the Amazon, I guess, the first time he's working to map out the borders of Bolivia and Brazil, which is kind of a wild thing to think about.
That wasn't always like Google Maps.
Yeah.
Yeah. We could just zoom in on stuff anywhere in the world.
You go, oh, yeah, there's a line.
Yeah.
There is a massive
that's
fence.
The thing.
Yeah.
That's another reason why that comment stopped. Like, at the start of the movie, he literally goes and maps out, and the reason they're doing that is they're trying to stop a war by actually like saying that he's like the pure line between these two countries and you know, stuff like that. So to say he never achieved anything is dumb, because he achieves what he sets out to do at the start of the movie and he actually gets like all this praise and reward for it. It's when he goes out on his some would call wild goose chase to find the lost city. That's where he never fully achieves it, or does he? That's of course the ending of the movie. But because it's based on a true story, and the true story is the dude did accomplish, like he was a well accomplished general. Not general, like lieutenant, whatever his fucking.
He ends up a lieutenant. Colonel.
Yeah. So he was well accomplished within his ranks. He fought in World War One. He was, which you see in the movie, of course. He accomplished the several year task of tracking out and mapping out that whole area. Like, obviously, that's a huge task of literally creating a fucking map for the first time. So that's a very dumb comment.
I think, yeah, I don't know. It's easy to like boil it down to like this very basic thing. I can understand why it wouldn't be for everyone. It is a little bit, slow. Takes its time with its story matter. It is like 2.5 hours long.
It's a movie for a fucking adult, is what it is. And for children who just watch fucking Marvel movies. And I can say that as someone who literally watches every Marvel movie and talks about them on all new Marvel cast, which you can too. But my God, the reason this movie and movies like this won't do well, and look, I gave this a 9 on Trakt. So, like, I think this movie's fucking, like, as far as, like, this is pristine filmmaking as far as I'm concerned. Like, it's got this great story. It's got all these interesting characters, wonderfully shot, beautiful locations, real world locations. They went to the jungle. They're shooting in like all over the UK through to the Bolivia, wherever the hell. Like, they're all over the place. Shot on film. It looks fantastic. And then you've got motherfuckers who are just used to. This is the thing. This is where I start getting my Scorsese hat on, when I see shit like this where people are talking crap on movies like this. I'm like, you just don't have the attention span. You watch 2.5 hours of Captain America beat the fuck out of Thanos, but 2 hours 20 minutes of this is boring. Why? Because that's character development. Yeah, fuck yourself. That's how I feel. Okay,
sorry to get you all riled up. Yeah, I think Charlie Hunnam's really good. We've got Robert Pattinson, who
is really good.
He's really good. You might not notice him because he's behind a massive bushy beard.
He plays such an older. That's the thing. I remember the first time I watched it, I was like, he's playing such like up in his age. Like, he really puts on that. Like, he plays such an older character from the get-go.
Twilight era for Pattinson.
No, and the second, like literally the second he walks into screen, like the first time he on the boat and all that, like straight away you feel like he's older than Charlie Hunnam's character. Like, he just plays sort of upwards. I really think Rob Pattinson's. Well, I think Rob Pattinson's in general a fantastic actor, but I think this is like a really great performance by him.
Really great performance. Also, Sienna Miller, she's really solid. I just wish it's a weird thing that she calls out her wanting to go on the trip, and like that never happens until arguably the end. They make such a big moment out of that. You think it's going to come and pay.
I think
back,
the reason, The problem is it's a true story. So
it is. Yeah.
There's only the amount of liberty they take is towards the end. Like they had a little bit of a what happened because they can, because no one actually knows what happened. However, the rest of the movie, like as far as she's concerned, I think they do take some liberties with like, I guess like between them and like some more feminism. What's the plural of it? I don't know. Feministic ideals that are sort of shared between them as a couple. He's still very much like there are man and women relationships, but his, I guess for the early 1900s, his ideas of at least male he's progressive for the 1900s. That's for sure. Yeah, so I think that, and I think even amongst that, from what I've found by doing some Google searching, is like maybe based on like hearsay, like, you know, maybe they were a bit more progressive or whatever. But yeah, at the end of the day, you can't just suddenly have her, if you're trying to do an actual somewhat true life story, you can't just suddenly have her come in the jungle. You know what I mean? Like just at a certain line, you either decide if you're doing a movie based on this true story where you change all the character names and that's like your inspiration for this story, and you can do that. That's totally fine, of course, and you could make a good movie that way. But if you're doing the true story, then there's a line at some point.
Yeah. If you want a story in which a woman goes into the jungle, you can check out Jungle Cruise on Disney Plus, starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
Or you can check out The Lost City.
Emily Blunt. No, they're on an island. They're not in the jungle.
Oh, damn, I didn't know. See, I haven't watched it. Damn.
So, although it's weird, looking up the movie and Lost City comes up first. And, they really, stole the thunder. Other person I want to mention is Angus Macfadyen, who plays, what's his face? What is this terrible villain's name?
The little bitch?
James Murray. Little bitch.
Yeah. He's a little bitch.
Oh, man.
I once went on a trip to South Africa, sir.
He went to
South
Antarctica.
Sorry, to South Antarctica, sir. I must come on your trip with you.
It's hot. It's heavy.
Oh, it's hot. My bag's heavy. Oh, can you carry me? Oh, sorry, I ate all your fucking food. Oh, this motherfucker.
Oh,
He's
I fell off the
really
boat. Save me. I don't care that you got to capsize everything.
So, having watched this movie twice, not once ever do I go... Yeah, so even the first time they're on the boat and they start getting all the spears and whatever thrown at them, arrows, I know what the fuck they are. All that stuff. No time have I watched this movie and thought they're the bad guys, because I'm sane and I'm watching it going, well, you're in their fucking, like, you're in their territory, like that you're invaded, like, you know what I mean? Like if you're watching that.
Indigenous people, you mean?
Yeah, you're like if you're watching that scene going, oh, they're the bad guys, I feel like you need like get your head straight, because like
yeah, as the audience, town. Yeah, but you got to take it from their perspective. They're getting thrown spears at for absolutely no reason.
Yeah, but their perspective, their fucking people are kidnapped and kept as fucking slaves, which we literally saw 10 minutes prior. So yeah, I feel that sets the tone. So the only person in this whole movie who you outwardly view as a bad guy is this little bitch right here. Fuck, he sucks.
Yeah, I mean, everything about him, whether it was scratching his infected leg, leaving on the last horse and then pouring oil over all their supplies, allegedly, and then, finally being at the Explorers EGS or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like that whole scene.
I want you to apologize, and I want you to do it in front of your wife, because I'm trying to obviously shame you.
Yeah. Yeah. But at least apparently he goes and dies in Antarctica, so I mean that's something.
Yeah. That was a good scene. They're like, I know we're in the middle of a war, but I hope you'll be happy to hear that old mate went on trip to Antarctica, and
everybody around you was dying, but at least your old enemy.
Yeah. No, what's his name? They say he mutinied.
Yeah,
and then they laugh because they're like, they know that since he's the one who mutinied, that he's going to lead them to a fucking death, and which is probably what happened. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, apparently a quick Google search. Apparently Murray and his three companions are presumed to have died in the Arctic in February 1914. So, there you go.
Fuck that guy.
Fuck that guy. And then we get Tom Holland as Percy's son, Jack. Very different. Although weirdly, it's like it's kind of weird to see Tom Holland like cutting himself through the jungle after watching Uncharted earlier this year. This time he's got a mustache.
At least I watched this. See, I watched this prior to Uncharted, unlike you, so I didn't have any weird things. No, I think Tom Holland. I think this is probably my favorite Tom Holland performance in this.
Yeah,
I know it's not a leading performance, but out of everything I've watched, I feel like this is his, at least what I would say is his best performance. I guess you could say Spider-Man technically. Not counting Spider-Man because like there is ups and downs across all three of those movies. I'd say this is
all
his best
17 of those performances.
Yeah. So if I'm taking Spider-Man out of the equation, then I'd say this is my favorite thing he's done.
Okay. Yeah. Obviously, there's that scene where he like just reams out his dad, like tells him he's abandoned him this entire time, which is 100% true. He's just left the family like every single time for, as far as I can tell, no money. Like,
no, they would have money coming in. Like,
would they?
From
as part of the.
Well, they live in a nice house. They have nice cars.
I guess
like it's very much implied that. And she says everything your father does is for us.
Well,
he's getting money. Like he gets paid to go on the trip for 2 years. They would he would have money coming in. Like they don't need to explain exactly how much his wife gets a week or whatever. However the money. Like you just know they have money.
But yeah, when he slaps him, man, rough.
Yeah.
Then of course they reconcile.
Then you get the payoff after the World War scene where they he comes and
sees him as he's blind. Yeah. And then he's like, "Hey, I want to be just like you and abandon my future children as well." So
yeah. Well, to be fair, he never actually had any children, so at least that's.
I want you to abandon my brother and sister again. Yeah.
Yeah. This Robert Pattinson's character does the right thing.
He does the right thing. It's like, no, I don't want to pay it.
He's like, I got a family now. I like it. And then Foyer, whatever he's like, Fawcett, whatever his name is. Like how he's like, the first time we went on trip, my son was back. Like he's really trying to guilt trip him into coming on the ship.
Yeah.
It's like,
and look how good he turned out without me being around.
Yeah.
It's like really weird. It's like your kids will grow up really good if you're not around.
Yeah.
You're a bad influence on them.
It's true.
Yeah, so then we get this final sequence where they're trying to find Velocity Z. They come across one tribe of indigenous people who chase them, and then they run into another tribe of indigenous people who, capture them. And it's kind of ambiguous as what exactly happens. Who do get drugged or something, it looks like, but...
Yeah. So they say, I can't remember the exact line, they say that they say these Christians don't belong here, or
the Christian.
The Christian don't belong here. They imply, you can read into it however you want. Mm-hmm. Of course, the thing is with the compass at the end that it's implied that they are
at least survived,
living their life in the jungle or whatever else. I think I love this ending. I think it's fucking perfect in my opinion, because the thing with doing any of these true life stories where no one actually knows what happened to the people, because the true life story is they just disappeared, no one could ever find them. So how do you end the movie sort of thing? I love this sort of idea because it leaves it up to you. Like the compass could be bullshit, all that sort of stuff. And then the fact that when Sienna Miller comes and talks to old mate at the end there and everything, and then I think that's a just lovely shot of where the camera like pans into the mirror and you see the jungle in the background of her walking into it. In real life, she never went into the jungle, but that's what I'm saying. The ending gets a bit more flavorful with the going off the rails of the true story. But I think I love the ending. I think it's perfect.
All right. Any other things you want to discuss about The Lost City of Z?
I think one of my favorite little Robert Pattinson performances that just has made me laugh both times I've watched this is when that dickhead, the first trip they go down and they're all losing their shit and he's like freaking out in the boat and he like comes at him with a knife or whatever and wakes up for just enough time to shoot him in the ear and just like roll back over and go back to sleep apparently. I have this grumpy Robert Pattinson. Like,
this guy gets super upset.
Next one is in your head or whatever, and he just like rolls over.
He gets super upset because obviously they're looking for this one spot, and then like 5 minutes later they find that spot. So this guy lost it in ear for barely anything.
Yep.
Very amusing. All right. Let us know what you thought of The Lost City of Z by going to explosion.com/Twitter or jump to Discord at explosion.com patreon.com/discord. Other thought. Apparently this movie was marketed as The Lost City of Z in America. And that's probably where they also made a mistake.
So, like, they were saying it's called The Lost City.
No, during the promotional.
Instead of Z.
Just during promotion.
Like the voiceover.
Yeah.
Or
like when they're getting introduced on late night TV shows and stuff from The Lost City of Z.
Is that an American thing when they say Z instead it says Z? Fucking Americans, man.
Yeah. So then they went to the actual movie and they kept saying Z, and they're like, when are they going to talk about The Lost City of Z? This makes no sense. If you want to help us out here at What Do You Want to Watch, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, Podchaser, leave us 5 stars. Any we can leave 5 stars, or just tell people about the show. And if you like this episode, thought it was worth $1, head on over to our Ko-fi page at explosion.com/support. Thank you very much for listening. Until next time, keep watching stuff, I guess.
This search for Zed, I can no longer bear the cost. You've come to doubt its existence. No. I only doubt that Zed could provide all the answers you seek from it.